opening statements are. For reference, this is what the Parliamentary Glossary of New Zealand states. The process for preparing and documenting the government's economic policies and spending plans each year, resulting in the introduction of the main appropriation bill and the delivery of the budget statement. In this budget statement, we're seeking to repay the trust our people put in us in October 2024. I am delivering a budget statement that is comprehensive, yet concise, optimistic, yet realistic, serious and sensible, holistic, yet sharply specific, forward-looking, yet reflective and mindful of past successes and failures, and most importantly, people-centered and people-driven. It means, Madam Speaker, that as we present this budget, we will coherently and cogently do the following. Affirm who we are as the people of Montserrat, that we are resilient, courageous, and creative. Recognize that we live in a complex world that seems to grow more uncertain and politically confusing each day at the global level. Confirm where we plan to do during the financial year ahead. Describe how we will get there using the resources in this budget as a launching pad for the economic takeoff that we so desperately need. Explain how our people's lives will be made better, even as we are fully cognizant of the fact that optimal improvements and benefits may take longer than a year to accrue for our community. Outline the priority multi-sector and specific sector areas, strategies that will not only lead to improvements in governance, but also improvements in our economy, society, environment, culture, and national cohesion. Explain in straightforward and clear terms how our residents, visitors, families, children, youth, seniors, our diaspora, and all other persons who are associated with and have a vested interest in Montserrat should feel a sense of pride, confidence, and optimism about being part of this beloved island community. Highlight the innovative approaches in leadership, teamwork, management consultation, communication, outreach, engagement, and empowerment that constitute the hallmarks of the United Alliance's strategy for the future sustainable and holistic development of Montserrat. Focus on what is achievable and doable in the short term, while devising realistic plans for the longer term. To draw from one former President Barack Obama, in the case of Montserrat, there is the fierce urgency of the now. You elected us to make those improvements that can be made now, while properly and adequately planning for those that require more time. In our budget, we will continue the call for the one Montserrat approach to our development. This means that we must continue to focus more on what unites us, as distinct from what divides us. We must seek to support and enable each other rather than tear down each other. We must commit to globally recognized standards of performance and achievement instead of narcissistic, parochial, ego-stroking at the expense of our people. Madam Speaker, I am aware that some persons might be tempted to call this our 10-point plan. This is not something with which we will take issue. Whatever means they may find useful to help them to retain elements of this presentation in their consciousness is fine with us. We present ourselves as your government one which embraces strategy, service, and commitment. Madam Speaker, what I'm stressing is that we want all of us to view this exercise as more than a display of erudite and elegant-sounding words. Yes, it is a governance requirement, but in effect, it is our short-term roadmap for improving the lives of our people. Madam Speaker, many people may see Montserrat simply as a dot on the world map. That dot is as precious to us as India is to the Indians, as China is to the Chinese, or as Scotland is to the Scots. While we may be small, that does not mean that our brains are small or that our ideas should be limited by land and population size. We may be small, but we must never be afraid to speak for ourselves, represent ourselves, or defend the image of Montserrat. My good friends Arrow and Hero have global hits still in rotation today. Jim Allen, Basil Morgan, and Lionel Baker represented Montserrat in the largest of international cricket arenas. Professor Sir Howard Fergus and Professor Sir George Irish did not allow their ideas to be hemmed in because they hailed from a small island. There are, of course, others whom we can mention, but I'm sure you get the point I'm making. Let us see Montserrat as our place of origin, our home base, but not limit the magnitude of our ideas and our effort, because our home island is less than 40 square miles in size. Madam Speaker, I just want to touch on the global economic realities as a backdrop to this budget. Having said that, there are some hard global truths we must face and with which we must learn to cope. The world is now more uncertain than it was in October 2024, when we were elected to office. All elections have consequences, and that has become almost a brutal reality when we recognize the immediate impact of the United States elections on the lives of billions of people across the world. Their lives have not only been disrupted, but in a number of cases, upended. If this trend continues, many countries and small island developing territories like Montserrat will undoubtedly be impacted. And Madam Speaker, I circulated a statement made by the Honourable Prime Minister Mayor Mottley of Barbados, which I trust all members have, and I think this is a useful statement which indicates the impact of what's happening or likely to happen to us as a consequence of what the United States is doing. The United States is a dominant player in the global economy. It began 2025 on a strong footing, with global projections ranging from 1.5 to 2.7%, and some forecasts exceeding 3%. However, the unpredictability of the current administration's policies looms large, both economically and socially, in its potential impacts. Looking ahead, global growth is projected at 2.8% in 2025. While growth has been stabilized, it remains below the pre-pandemic average of 3.2% recorded between 2010 and 2019. Ongoing challenges such as geopolitical conflicts, climate risk, and shifting global trade dynamics continue to present significant obstacles to sustainable growth. External factors like international trade uncertainty and higher global energy prices are also expected to put upward pressure on inflation. To put it simply, these will all drive up the prices and the cost of living. and the statement by the Honourable Prime Minister Mayor Mottley speaks cogently to this issue. Madam Speaker, we are conscious that our reality as a small territory and economy deepens our vulnerability to external shocks. However, we have the capacity to face and cope with these challenges. We are by population the smallest in the OECS, the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. In CARICOM and among CDB's members, we're the smallest, but our voice can be loudly heard in our own interest. Madam Speaker, our voice was loudly and widely heard at the last CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Barbados. We are part of a region in which the economic outlook for the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union in 2025 remains positive, with projected growth ranging from 3.5 to 4.5%. This expansion is expected to be fueled by the continued recovery of the sub-region's tourism sector, post-Hurricane Beryl reconstruction efforts, and substantial investments in infrastructure. The IMF has recently highlighted the ECCU's robust rebound from successive adverse shocks, underscoring the region's resilience and growth potential. Montserrat, as a member of the ECCU, stands to benefit from this positive regional trajectory, aligning itself with the ECCU's growth strategies to strengthen the economic position and contribute to the region's broader prosperity. It means that by aligning with regional strategies, Montserrat will not only bolster its economic resilience, but create opportunities to play a more pivotal role in driving broader regional growth and development than in the recent past. Madam Speaker, we anticipate that Montserrat's economy will grow in 2025-26 fiscal year. The current projection is 4%. There is, however, a peculiarity in economic terms. Montserrat's economy is principally dominated by the public service, where budgetary assistance accounts for more than 60% of our recurrent revenues. This overdependence undermines our fiscal self-reliance. With the prospect of Montserrat's graduation from guaranteed official development assistance from the United Kingdom in 2026, despite the UK's commitment to support our island going forward, it is imperative that we consider our One Montserrat project and propel our island forward, revitalize our private sector, and make greater strides towards fiscal sustainability by laying the foundation with budgets such as this one. Madam Speaker, the reason why I took the time to refer to those global, regional, and local realities is because sometimes, if you peruse social media, some would have us believe that Montserrat exists in a vacuum and insulated from the rest of the world simply because we are such a tranquil place. Our economy might not affect the world, but the world economy certainly affects Montserrat. Madam Speaker, small is what we are, and the development challenges we continue to face are monumental because of the ravages of the volcano and some rather ill-advised choices over the years. Madam Speaker, the people of Montserrat gave the United Alliance a clear mandate in October 2024 because they understood where we were then, and our people knew that despite our harsh and in some ways limiting realities, Montserrat needed a new political team at the helm. The people of Montserrat decided that they needed a team with a clear vision for Montserrat, and the political fortitude to achieve it. The intention to identify and implement solutions to alleviate hardships, clear, proactive, and pragmatic strategies for growth and development, specific plans for specific problems, a commitment to consultation, a team approach to political management, strong skills in governance, diplomacy, and advocacy, undisputed leadership that could hold its own at any negotiating table without fear, and the capacity to innovate and inspire our people with hope. Madam Speaker, I will now illustrate why the people made the correct choice in October 2024. I hasten to add that we have not completely solved all our problems in 6 months. It would be foolish to expect that. What I hasten to say is the following. You got a government that the governor worked with on the basis of mutual respect for each other's roles. We successfully negotiated to bring down the price of fuels. The electricity situation has been stabilized. Air access for St. Patrick's Week was markedly improved with the reintroduction of Twin Otter flights. And as many of you would have heard, we have gotten a guarantee for these Twin Otter flights to continue by Winair and SVG, the latter of whom has committed to acquiring a Twin Otter aircraft to meet this commitment. We ensured that certain fruits such as citrus was once again available in Montserrat. We returned What's on Your Mind to the airwaves. In doing so, ensuring our people have a voice, whether to support or criticize government, thereby strengthening the democratic process. We have held and continue to hold town hall meetings after the election. We have told you straight in terms of exactly where we are with each major project and with each major government decision. Madam Speaker, our 2025 budget presentation is more than a checklist. It describes and explains the intricate interconnections between the various challenges that will lead to the desired outputs and outcomes that we intend to achieve. I remind everyone that this presentation comes against a backdrop of a strategic direction and strategic framework that the United Alliance presented to the people before the recent general elections. Madam Speaker, I will now present a synopsis of the 2025 budget in figures. The total estimated recurrent expenditure is $175.9 million. Total estimated capital, $135.9 million. The total capital and recurrent expenditure is therefore $311.8 million. The estimates for 2025 represent an increase of almost $20 million over 2024. The local revenue contribution to the recurrent budget is $55.6 million. This is bolstered by HMG's recurrent budgetary support of $120.2 million. Recurrent expenditure is 56% of the total budget. And with this budget, the government, which I have the honor of leading, will be making a substantial investment in Montserrat's future in terms of physical and social infrastructure as capacity building for our people. Madam Speaker, I have chosen to highlight some of the amounts allocated to important recurrent and capital initiatives because of their level of impact on our quality of life. However, I will not attempt to enunciate the tables of estimates for the budget in this address, when the budget is approved, those tables will be properly dispatched to all concerned who want to have a look at them, and all legislators already have a copy of those. Madam Speaker, we are committed to attracting both foreign direct and local investment to drive economic growth. This presentation is also a call to our diaspora to unite and invest in key sectors that show significant growth potential, such as agriculture, real estate, tourism, renewable energy, infrastructure development, financial services, and the digital economy, among others. With investment in these areas, we can create jobs, stimulate innovation, and build a stronger and more resilient economy for the benefit of this and future generations. In agriculture, there are major opportunities, especially in the area of local food production. This is because our annual food import bill stands at $18 million, while local food production, including crops and livestock, amounts to just $2 million. Opportunities. It is time to make food sovereignty a priority, and I re-emphasize sovereignty rather than security, because our goal is not just to ensure access to food, but to build a resilient, self-sufficient system where production, distribution, and consumption are conducted sustainably. As a result, we'll be able to reduce our dependence on imports and strengthen our local agricultural industry. At the same time, creating more secure, sustainable, and a more prosperous future for Montserrat. Madam Speaker, this government will continue to develop policies for agricultural growth, improve access to agricultural arable farmlands and agricultural infrastructure, implement better pest and livestock control measures, boost local production through irrigation and access to water, promote sustainable farming through new technologies, and invest in youth and community engagement to encourage participation in farming. These efforts will not only build resilience against global supply chain disruptions, they will also create a healthier, more sustainable food system, thereby ensuring that Montserrat's future in is both food secure and economically self-resilient. Madam Speaker, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. Madam Speaker, we extend our sincere gratitude to the ECCB for its pledge $2.1 million to support our agricultural sector. This investment will play a vital role in strengthening food security, enhancing productivity, and driving sustainable growth in the industry. Madam Speaker, the government is also committed to fostering new synergies between agriculture and tourism, as this collaboration creates mutual benefits for both sectors while boosting employment opportunities. Tourism remains a cornerstone of our economy, and we have seen a steady recovery in the post-pandemic era. The return of stopover visitors and the resurgence of cruise ships and cruise ship arrivals have provided a significant economic boost. We will continue to support the Montserrat Tourism Authority in promoting the island as a unique travel destination with a focus on our rich heritage, natural beauty, ecotourism opportunities, the transformative volcano experience, and our very safe environment. This strategic approach will help us to attract more visitors and strengthen the island's economic resilience. Madam Speaker, as we speak, a representative group from the Tourism Authority are representing Montserrat at Sea Trade 2025. Madam Speaker, with these opportunities for our enhanced tourism potential, our vision must include additional accommodation for our visitors. We face a significant shortage of hotel accommodation, limiting our ability to host a growing number of tourists and making it increasingly challenging to secure lodging, especially during peak travel seasons. To address this pressing issue, your government is exploring the feasibility of developing a hotel in the Little Bay area with a capacity of approximately 120 rooms, as well as engaging with investors to explore other possibilities in that field. The aim is to enhance our accommodation infrastructure, meet growing demand, and further boost our tourism sector. Madam Speaker, there are other factors which must be considered to boost the tourism sector. The government has already taken proactive steps to address access challenges, making it easier for both people and goods to move in and out of Montserrat. These efforts are designed to attract more visitors and strengthen business connections with neighboring islands. We will continue to explore medium and long-term improvements to both air and sea access, ensuring they support the sustainable growth of our economy and enhance our connectivity on a regional scale. As part of our growth thrust, the necessary infrastructure must be in place to attract and retain our population. In that regard, this government remains committed to expanding and improving the island's housing stock. Ongoing discussions with contractors are centered on the construction of 2- and 3-bedroom units, tailored to meet the needs of single working individuals and returning nationals. This initiative aims to provide affordable, high-quality housing while supporting community development and social stability. Madam Speaker, Montserrat continues to grapple with a persistently high cost of living, a challenge that may be further exacerbated by the ripple effects of geopolitical tensions. In short, tariffs and levies. Our heavy reliance on imports, geopolitical constraints, and small population are key contributing factors. Additionally, high energy costs, driven largely by our dependence on imported diesel, place an additional burden on households and businesses. These pressing realities call for decisive and strategic action from your government to mitigate economic pressures and build a more resilient future. Madam Speaker, to meet the challenges and address some of these issues, this government will seek to implement targeted fiscal relief initiatives designed to ease financial burdens on our people while fostering economic growth. Key measures will include construction support, import tax relief, and the reintroduction of a tax-free child allowance. We will seek to lower tariffs on essential building materials, making home ownership and development more accessible. We will seek to reinstate a tax-free child allowance to provide relief for working parents. We will seek to adjust customs duties and consumption tax by reducing the freight component used to calculate the customs value. This adjustment will directly lower the cost of imported goods, making essential items more affordable for consumers and businesses alike. Madam Speaker, this government will continue the renewable energy thrust, ensuring a more stable and affordable future for all residents. By investing in solar PV and geothermal power, we will reduce our reliance on imported diesel. which is vulnerable to global price fluctuations and drives up the cost of living. This shift will stabilize electricity prices, lower household and business expenses, and help to control inflation. Madam Speaker, your government will implement these initiatives responsibly to ensure long-term economic stability, energy security, and a better quality of life for all our people. We are committed to harnessing Montserrat's natural resources to build a resilient, self-sufficient, and prosperous little Montserrat. The future may be filled with uncertainty, but with competent leadership providing a steady hand at the helm, we will navigate these challenges and emerge stronger. Your government is committed to ensuring a future of growth, sustainability, and prosperity for all Montserratians and residents. Together, as one Montserrat, we will embrace opportunities, invest in our future, and build a self-sufficient and thriving economy. Let us all remain united in our efforts to make this vision a reality for the betterment of our island and future generations. Madam Speaker, this budget seeks to address the varying sector-specific needs across priority sectors, such as access, aviation and maritime development, agriculture, lands and survey, broadcasting and communication, built, digital transformation, disaster management, education, energy and the utilities, healthcare improvement and transformation, information and communication, internal and regional relations, police and fire services, public service delivery, tourism, youth affairs, and sports. But I'll start with access. Predictably, the reliable access is not a mere luxury, but a fundamental prerequisite for all other economic activity. An island without proper access cannot build a sustainable economy. To that end, previous governments' underinvestment in this key public service has led to diminished access, unreliable services, and high consumer prices. This government has and will continue to place the highest priority on securing a diverse mix of reliable access services to ensure adequate connectivity for residents and visitors alike. To support the needs of residents and visitors during the annual St. Patrick's Festival and high peak period, the government successfully completed a contract with Winair to provide additional airlift services to Antigua and St. Martin through February and March 2025. Expanding affordable regional connectivity is an imperative for any island economy. We remain committed to expanding this provision beyond the St. Patrick's season for the benefit of Montserratians, residents, visitors, and the investor economy. Madam Speaker, this begins with a commitment to seek to maintain the service of Twin Otter aircraft for an additional 12-month period in the first instance. We have concluded negotiations with both SVG and Winair for Twin Otter services to and from Montserrat to cover, in the case of Winair, flights from St. Martin to Montserrat, and with SVG, flights principally between Antigua and Montserrat, which will possibly be extended to other destinations. Considering that intention, and to comply with safety and regulatory requirements of operating Twin Otter service, the government will be recruiting additional staffing resources for the Montserrat Fire and Rescue Department, and we will continue working with Fly Montserrat as part of our access policy initiatives. We are not leaving anybody out, we're including everyone. We will continue to work with interested investors in our efforts to create a sub-regional ferry service that will include Montserrat. Plans are already underway to engage a regional private sector ferry operator to service Montserrat at least twice per week as part of a regional schedule. As I raised at the recent CARICOM meeting, the Caribbean travel sector must finally enter the 21st century with the embrace of digital technology. I'm proud to say that Montserrat's introduction of online services for the submission of embarkation and disembarkation information up to 7 hours prior to travel has been successful and will continue. Thanks to the work of the CARICOM Impacts team, together with our Department for Information Technology and E-Government Services and the Immigration Department. But there's still a lot of work needs to be done because we're doing too much copy and pasting. Additional service automation will continue this year with the implementation of passport scanning technology supported by the Overseas Territories Regional Crime Intelligence System. In summary, Madam Speaker, our access proposition, I think, should be clear: better access, affordable access, modern access, diversified access. In using our approach, not only will we improve traveling conditions for our international Montserratian family, but we will reduce the barriers of entry for Montserrat's tourism and investment economy. Madam Speaker, to drive further operational and safety improvements to our aviation sector, the Ministry of Build has initiated feasibility assessments for sustainable nighttime flying operation and enhanced operations for medical evacuation at John Osborne Airport. To this end, a UK airport operator will take on this task as a turnkey operation. Night flying is critical, especially if we're saying we don't want our people to overnight on their way here. Government has also initiated the development of the Montserrat Air Services Fares and Rates Order to improve transparency and regulatory oversight in air travel pricing. Do I need to repeat that, Madam Speaker? Government has also initiated the development of the Montserrat Air Services Fares and Rates Order to improve transparency and regulatory oversight in air travel pricing. This enhanced transparency will help ensure price certainty and competitive pricing. Your government will make the policy decisions required to implement this order for the benefit of the traveling public. Madam Speaker, this government is committed to enhancing agriculture further this year and invests through the budget an additional $8.9 million for their recurrent expenditure and $4.4 million for capital. The Ministry of Agriculture team has delivered key initiatives to redevelop agriculture, to promote food sovereignty, satisfy local demand, and to target specific markets for import substitution and export. And may I add, Madam Speaker, this is a continuation of the work that Honourable Crenson Buffong started, and we're working as a continuous government to ensure that some of those strategies are indeed continued. Through this budget, we will continue to invest in our agricultural programs, including signing up to the Blue Belt Initiative to provide access to resources to strengthen Montserrat's maritime management framework, improving the production of locally grown meat through the use of artificial insemination, thus improving the genetic stock of goats, sheep, and pigs. Not all of us eat pigs, but it's one of the major meats. Providing targeted support to selected farmers with a view to doubling agricultural output in this fiscal year. This will be achieved not only by opening new agricultural lands, but also by the introduction of greenhouse and other modern technologies. Madam Speaker, resources have been allocated in the budget to enable significant work in each of the identified areas as follows. 1 million for agricultural development. Again, this is a goal of doubling our agricultural output in selected crops, livestock, and fisheries. 1 million in very low interest loans available to our farmers for agricultural development to supplement the Ministry of Agriculture's effort to double our output in selected crops, livestock, and fisheries. This is part and will be part of a revolving fund to replenish via repayments each year. This is not a one-off gesture, but a commitment to our local farmers and fisherfolk. Shade housing to include hydroponics will also be funded. We are thankful to CARICOM for their kind donation of 3 large shade houses. This is part of the thrust to increase food security. We will be introducing shade houses and hydroponic farming in the primary schools and replace or repair the shade house at the MSS. We must be a driving force in making agricultural production a cultural phenomenon where we produce and consume healthy food that is grown locally. In order to develop the microenterprise sector, we're providing 1 million to fund low-interest loans, where each loan will be up to a maximum of $50,000. This will be a revolving fund again to be replenished by repayments each year. And again, Madam Speaker, this is not just a one-off gesture, but a multi-year commitment by this government. Regarding the activities to be undertaken by Lands and Survey Department, Madam Speaker, that department will continue to maximize the use of our finite lands, as this is a key component to our sustainability and economic development. The department has successfully supported a range of infrastructure development projects, including the new National Hospital project. Madam Speaker, I'm proud to inform this Honourable House that over the course of the next budget period, the department will implement the Global Navigation Satellite System, and this will significantly enhance geospatial data collection, improving surveying accuracy, and national infrastructure projects and investment opportunities of the future. Staff training is to be incorporated in this system and will be rolled out shortly. Alongside GPS, there will be continued modernization of cadastral and topographical mapping through advanced geospatial technologies and drone-assisted surveys. Madam Speaker, we must, for the future sustainable development of our island, revisit and update the physical development plan and the master plan for Little Bay and the north of Montserrat. This has been left to drift for far too long, with ad hoc development and piecemeal progress. This government will deliver a blueprint for sustainable, inclusive, and resilient growth, fostering economic stability, environmental stewardship, and social harmony. This is an imperative that we must and will pursue, and we have the local expertise here in Montserrat to do it. Madam Speaker, Montserrat's environment is our gift, and it is our responsibility to maintain it. It is also the patrimony we leave for the generations of the future. From the Center Hills to Little Bay, from Plymouth to Long Ground, our green and blue economies will be central to Montserrat's future development and conservation. Over the next year, this government will introduce a broad slate of environmental improvement programs. Montserrat is not immune to the unfortunate global trend of coral reef degradation. Your government is pleased to announce an important collaboration initiative with the OECS that will see the construction of a tissue culture lab and a greenhouse facility for the establishment of a major artificial reef off Montserrat's west coast. This innovative measure will attract and retain new marine life, enhance ecosystem health, support local fisheries, bolster shoreline erosion control, and offer new sites for scuba diving, snorkeling, and coastal tourism. Madam Speaker, housing for current, returning, and new residents is a critical enabler to ensuring quality of life and growth in residential numbers. Over the course of this year, your government will prioritize funding to continue to expand housing and housing incentives programs, land and infrastructure development that will unlock public-private investment housing, boost the construction sector, and to ensure quality housing for our people. We will also be introducing new low-cost housing systems to ensure our low-income earners can afford to own a house. Training in the use of this new technology will commence very early in this budget cycle, and we have allocated a special allocation to start this project and start this initiative of $500,000. Many houses which we have visited during our election campaign, and some that have been abandoned require modest sums to get them up to a suitable standard. We have allocated approximately $900,000 this year to support that initiative. Madam Speaker, we will be modernizing our housing information management system to enable digital routes for housing assistance applications, data management, and analytics to inform policy interventions. In coordination with the work of the Housing Unit, the Montserrat Land Development Authority continues to support social housing management and the implementation of capital improvement projects. Further investment is needed in our social housing portfolio, and this government is committed to doing all it can to ensure this investment is made during the coming year and beyond. Madam Speaker, the Department of Youth Affairs and Sports has been placed within a new ministry, along with a renewed focus as a future foundation for growth. Sadly, Madam Speaker, young people are too often left behind by an education system that failed to meet their needs or aspirations. The government sees great potential in these young people who deserve a second chance to succeed. We will launch the Second Opportunity Education Program to increase the number of young people on island achieving at least the minimum academic requirements for employment in the public and private sectors. Madam Speaker, sport is foundational to our overall national health, well-being, and economy. We will invest and seek partnership investment in sporting infrastructure and development, including motorsport facilities, a 400-meter weather-resistant athletics track, tennis and netball court facilities, and this investment will help prepare our sportsmen and sportswomen to perform at their best for national, regional, and international competitions. The alignment of Youth Affairs and Sports Department within the ministry signals the commencement of the internal restructuring to allow for better achievement of our goals and objectives. Madam Speaker, we will be rehabilitating the multipurpose sports facility in Little Bay to the tune of $500,000. We have also allocated $490,000 to facilitate the development of a motor racing track. We will be installing floodlights at the sporting facilities in Little Bay and Salem. We will continue to explore opportunities to provide our young athletes with greater exposure and possible sports scholarships in their various sporting disciplines. Madam Speaker, with the inclusion of youth and sports within the Ministry of Agriculture, the recurrent estimate for that ministry is projected at $8.9 million. Transparent and timely public engagement and communication is the lifeblood of any democracy. As an election promise, the people in Montserrat and the wider diaspora were assured of the resumption of What's on Your Mind program on Radio Montserrat as a platform for Montserratians, residents, and friends of Montserrat at home and abroad to share their views on affairs affecting the island. This is your democratic right. Whether you speak negatively about government or positively about government, we want to hear all views and let all ideas contend. I am pleased, therefore, to inform this Honourable House that this program, which allows members of the public to exchange ideas and views, which could help to inform public policy, government programs and actions, returned to the airwaves on Tuesday, 7th January 2025. What's on Your Mind program is a developmental tool and not an instrument of political division. Madam Speaker, your ministers and parliamentary secretaries have been and will continue to be on that program. And we'll do that periodically to ensure dialogue between the people and the elected government. We congratulate all involved in making the changes. Madam Speaker, let me add, we're able to do this by using our own local professionals without paying for high-priced import consultants. The GIU continues to play a central role in promoting the programs and plans and activities of the government ministries and departments. In this regard, a Government of Montserrat communication manual and social media guidelines were developed and published on the government website as part of efforts to support strategic communication practices. Madam Speaker, this is a government focused on building, rebuilding, and developing in all spheres of life. The Ministry of Build is central to that agenda and will drive tangible future growth in the community. The government will provide renewed focus to maximize available funding to accelerate the A1 road project, including important improvements to associated drainage systems, prioritizing safety for all road users and long-term resilience of this vital infrastructure. Madam Speaker, when we speak of critically important infrastructure, Montserrat has waited too long to see the realization of a hoped-for new port in Little Bay. Despite initial progress, this government inherited a project with a range of implementation challenges, including unresolved claims, equipment breakdowns, adverse weather impacts, resource shortages, and the list goes on. Let me be clear, Madam Speaker. The successful delivery and commissioning of this critical initiative, funded by UK CIF and the European Union, remains a top priority for this government. We are actively working on resolving key actions with enhanced governance to ensure that this project delivers the myriad benefits sought. Madam Speaker, this government is committed to the meaningful development of our human capital and the improvement of livelihoods for working people. Montserrat's economic future is dependent on the development, training, and retention of our young people. The HYPE apprenticeship program has already been expanded, providing increased access to vocational training and technical skills development. Your government will further expand this program and integrate it more fully within key government departments, including built, mechanical services, energy departments, and the private sector. Alongside training and development, BUILT will ensure that public sector projects maximize local employment and skills development opportunities for our people. Roadworks, utilities, mechanical services, energy, and digital projects will be targeted for such opportunities. Madam Speaker, the Department of Labor will facilitate a program whereby persons who have been resident in Montserrat for a period in excess of 3 years will have their outstanding work permit fees waived. However, they must apply and pay for the current year's work permit, after which they would be exempt from future work permits. Madam Speaker, Montserrat's rich resources present major opportunities for a renewable energy revolution in this country. Over the last year, the government has continued to see the benefits of our solar PV expansion project with reduced reliance on fossil fuels and improved energy security. Our geothermal wellheads, which had been neglected for several years, will be rejuvenated, thereby improving readiness for future investment and energy extraction. Our water supply and its resilience are being improved through the initiation of spring and pipeline rehabilitation projects as part of a utilities project. This government will prioritize investment in our energy and utilities sector, addressing near-term issues in the graded infrastructure and new future-proofing projects. Madam Speaker, this will further expand our renewable energy base. An ambitious but realistic project proposal, and again, project proposal, for the expansion of our 1 megawatt solar capacity by a further 2 megawatt has already been developed in partnership between BUILT and MUL. The project, estimated in the region of $15 million, will seek to harness enough energy for Montserrat's readily available sunshine to provide for existing baseload, significantly reducing our reliance on diesel generation technology. Madam Speaker, this may not be funded by HMG, but we'll go out and find investors. Madam Speaker, BUILT will also work to modernize existing electricity and water distribution systems, while advancing the project development for a new wastewater treatment facility at Margarita Bay, Drummonds, and Davy Hill. Will be addressing capacity and aging issues with the existing facilities. Madam Speaker, the capital expenditure for the Ministry of Buildings, Utilities, Infrastructure, Transport, and Ecclesiastical Affairs is $35.4 million, with a recurrent expenditure at $14.1 million, with a total budget, capital and recurrent, of $49.5 million. Digital transformation, Madam Speaker. This government places digital transformation and modernization at the heart of its agenda. The Department of Communication and Digital Transformation has been established, bringing together the department, DITES, and the ICT unit to lead the government of Montserrat's digital transformation mandate. The department now serves as a focal point for all information, communication, and technology matters pertaining to the government of Montserrat, and will be a center of excellence in Montserrat that meets international standards. The department's structure has been expanded to bring it in line with the established standards and capacity required to facilitate the digital transformation of services across the government of Montserrat and all associated activities. These include delivering infrastructure and technology services, software development and application support, ICT policies, and very importantly, cybersecurity. Madam Speaker, the DMCA has distinguished itself in service not only to Montserrat, but also to the Caribbean region for many years. The government will work with the Governor and Deputy Governor to ensure all the policies, strategies, and equipment and supplies that are critical for continued readiness and response capacity when required are in place. Madam Speaker, there is a nexus between the work of the DMCA and the MVO. They will both be part of a multifaceted program of events to mark the onset of the Soufriere Hills volcanic activity, which started on July 18, 1995. This program is being planned by key agencies not only to mark the anniversary, but for us to learn from the successes and challenges of the last 3 decades and guide future actions. Madam Speaker, it is intended that there must be a focus on our people and what those volcanic events mean in our past and what challenges and opportunities they portend for our future. Coincidentally, I was Chief Minister on July 18, 1995. And I intend to ensure that the appropriate balance is struck between the roles of science and scientists and the efforts of our people, a people who, as I like to say, not only survived, but overcame the challenges, even though we are still dealing with the consequences. There will be a program of activities which will bring together here on island a large number of persons who over the years have been associated with our volcano monitoring, and we must continue to exploit the economic benefits of our volcano. And I hasten to add that we're planning to get the geothermal wells in operation at least 2 weeks before that program so that we can do some work with our friends from Oxford Institute. Madam Speaker, our physical school facilities receive some long-awaited attention. The renovation of Block A at the Braids Primary School was completed. Construction repairs have begun on Block B, and these repairs will correct and have corrected the deteriorated roofs and the inoperable windows, allowing students and teachers to function in a safe and comfortable environment. At the secondary school campus, Block M was completed after some years of delay, restoring lost capacity of 6 classrooms and remedying their condition for safe and usable operations. The work is well advanced for the completion of Block L for the desperately needed chemistry and biology labs. Worthy of note is the completion of the long-delayed upgrade to the disability-accessible bathrooms at the MSS. Madam Speaker, whereas I report on those were achievements which started with the previous administration. Madam Speaker, during the new financial year, Montserrat will continue to realize tangible benefits from the Caribbean Development Bank's flagship grant-funded program, the BNTF. On the various cycles, BNTF has successfully delivered a range of infrastructure development, educational, and poverty reduction projects. Through intense lobbying, I am pleased to announce that Montserrat will continue to benefit on the BNTF 11. This commitment, however, Madam Speaker, will be formalized at the next meeting of the Board of Governors in June. Fortunately, I will be the governor at that meeting, and you know I will be forceful to ensure that this BNTF 11 is delivered for us. the BNTF 11 program will continue its focus on community-based projects. The plans and programs for the coming year will take into full consideration the many challenges faced by the education sector, to include teacher recruitment and retention, inadequate provision of vocational, technical education, underperformance in language and math at CXC and national levels, special education needs, support, behavioral and disciplinary issues, child safeguarding issues, and other areas of educational support to attain the required performance in the sector. We have therefore commenced the groundwork to seek financing for a comprehensive education transformation program, spanning at least 3 years in the first instance. The education transformation program will focus on the special education needs and disability in schools, thereby reducing vulnerability in children. It will also include the recruitment of SEND professionals and secure long-term training for untrained primary teachers with specializations in SEND. An enhanced after-school tutoring program and a breakfast program are components which will be considered to safeguard our students' well-being and provide a foundation for improved academic performance. Hungry children can't learn, Madam Speaker. This transformation program over the next few years is also expected to cover infrastructure maintenance and upgrades at all schools to make them safer and more conducive to learning. Madam Speaker, I wish to emphasize that education includes early childhood education, and our government will continue to provide the resources and support required to help our children to experience a smooth transition into mainstream education at the primary level. Development assessments of children will continue collaboratively with the Department of Health, and continuous staff training will be conducted for early childhood personnel. The recurrent estimates for the Ministry of Education is 10.1 million and capital of just about $1 million, for a total budget of 10.9 or $11 million. Tax policy is a critical enabler for safeguarding and stimulating economic activity, and continues its program of modernization, including a focus on digitization, arrears management, legislative reform, and online payment systems. This government continues to operate with a range of concession programs to support our broader economic agenda, including returning nationals concession program, the development of private sector home programs, property developer employee programs, Corkill and surrounding area redevelopment Zone C exemption. We have ordered a review of current concessions, exemptions, and fiscal incentives to simplify the processes and maximize the impact of these programs. As a result of this review, the government will be implementing the following initiatives to stimulate the economy and reduce the cost of living. First, we will seek low tariff rates on all building materials and streamline existing concessionary programs to reduce the administrative burden and maximize take-up by residents. Consequently, I am pleased to announce the proposed standardization of import taxes for all basic materials, building materials as follows: 5% custom duties, 10% consumption tax. Once implemented, there is no need for any application to benefit from these reduced rates. Items imported from CARICOM with the required certificate of origin will only pay the consumption tax of 10%. Secondly, Madam Speaker, we'll seek to reduce the amount paid for import taxes on all imports. This will be achieved through the potential reduction of the freight element of the cost, insurance, and freight calculation by 50%. reducing the amount paid for custom duties and custom tax on all imports. This change will benefit all persons on island. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, to address cost of living for working families, we seek to introduce a new additional allowance to claim exemption from income tax. In addition to the recently increased personal allowance of $18,000, your government will seek to enshrine an additional child allowance of $1,500 per child for up to 3 children. However, only one parent can claim. So mother and father have to decide which one of them going to claim that $1,500 per child. In order not to punish workers who go beyond the call of regular duty and work overtime, their tax for overtime income will now be at the tax rate which they are taxed on their regular salary. To clarify, Madam Speaker, as existed previously, all overtime income was taxed at 30%. Going forward, if a worker is normally taxed at the rate of 10%, their overtime will now be taxed at 10%, and so on. This means productive, hard-working members of the community will have more money in their pockets, more disposable income. Madam Speaker, the health and well-being of our people is foundational to our society and economy. Yet it has been almost 30 years since Montserrat has boasted a modern fit-for-purpose hospital facility. I can confirm that this government will deliver not only the construction, equipping, and commissioning of a new hospital, but an improved and adequate healthcare system fit for the 21st century. Over the course of the year, the Ministry of Health, supported by the Ministry of Finance, has effectively utilized CIPREG funding to deliver major enabling works for the hospital project. Throughout the last year, there has also been significant investment in the installation of major diagnostic and life safety critical equipment, including the CT and mammography scanners, as well as new neonatal transport incubator and ventilator, and crash cart defibrillators. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to inform the Honourable House that the government of Montserrat has successfully completed the procurement process for the contractor of the main hospital construction. The contract awarded to Construction and Industrial Equipment, CIA, from St. Lucia, was signed on the 24th of January 2025. Mobilization commenced for the main construction phase in April, with a ceremonial groundbreaking yesterday, the 7th of April. The Honourable Minister for Health was showing how skillful she was using the shovel. Completion is targeted for April 2027. Madam Speaker, when we speak of this hospital project, it shows that indeed government is continuous. We're not claiming we started it, but we're ensuring that we finish it. And unlike some others, we're not saying there was no hospital project. We will focus attention on the provision of specialist medical services through our visiting specialist program. We're exploring ways of ensuring medivacs are conducted in a robust manner with the introduction of appropriate policies. The cost of medivacs can become unaffordable when we examine the increased number of cases. We're exploring different options of not only reducing the cost, but also ensuring greater speed of service delivery. Currently, Madam Speaker, CARICOM nationals pay 50% more for hospital services than locals. Once we have completed the policy documents, all Caribbean nationals will be treated the same as locals, provided they have been resident on island for at least 3 years. However, all children will be given equal treatment irrespective of how long they have been on island. We have to safeguard our children. Their children and our children are our children. Madam Speaker, our Social Services Department provides vital support across our communities. Social protection remains a core of this government's mandate, as the United Alliance team believes that the most vulnerable in our society should be protected. During this new financial year, your government plans to increase the number of early help and preventive programs across all services. We will increase the number of public awareness and education programs for the work of social services, especially in the areas of parenting support, domestic violence and safeguarding, and we will improve multi-agency partnerships which work across police, education, and health to improve safeguarding and protection issues through the additional funding we have already secured with His Majesty's government. We can't take these things lightly. We have to allocate funds to them and get them done. And we have to work as one Montserrat to eliminate these from our society. We will also modernize service delivery and support integration through the implementation of an electronic data management system for social services. In that context, Madam Speaker, I am pleased to inform this Honourable House that the sum of $500,000 has been allocated to upgrade the former Codgerhead Police Station, the upstairs of which will be allocated to child safeguarding and counselling services. The recurrent estimates for the Ministry of Health and Social Services is $25.5 million. Madam Speaker, this government wishes to recognize the energy, professionalism, and engagement of our new head of the Montserrat UK office. As a government, we will continue to collaborate closely with our UK office to engage with our Montserrat diaspora, whilst also securing and deepening partnerships for Montserrat development at home. The Regional Affairs Unit within the Office of the Premier has worked hard to rationalize our engagement with regional and international bodies. When it comes to CARICOM, this government will continue to lobby for greater access and collaboration for the benefit of Montserrat. What I mean by this, Madam Speaker, sometimes CARICOM gets funding for projects and Montserrat is excluded. We're arguing vehemently that we are a full member of CARICOM, and therefore anything coming to CARICOM, we should be able to benefit. This year, your government will sponsor a review of Montserrat's status with CARICOM Single Market and Economy, with the aim of completing the requisite documentation to become a signatory of the revised Treaty of Tragaramas to fully participate in the CSME. We will continue to engage with the OECS Commission to leverage additional support for our people. Madam Speaker, alongside normal operations, the Royal Montserrat Police and Fire Service have delivered a range of improvements over the last fiscal year, including the re-establishment of neighborhood policing and the primary policing model with allocated beat officers to every community. Madam Speaker, the RMPS has also strengthened a partnership between social services, health and education departments, and embedded a new safeguarding team to secure successful prosecutions for offenses against vulnerable persons and children. Over the next year, the RMPS will develop a crime capability with technological support to prevent serious crime and implement the police conduct and performance regulations to improve public trust and confidence in the police service. We are considered a very safe island. However, we cannot take this for granted. So we will be making additional investments in securing our borders, but in order for these initiatives to succeed, we need the full cooperation of all. New investments will include continued upgrade of the fire service fleet to include enhancing the capability to fight fires across difficult terrains, that is, getting four-wheel drive vehicle, completion of renovations to the Braid Fire Station, roof has been leaking for many years, and the reopening of the Salem Police Station, something which should have been done many years ago. The total allocation for police and fire services is $8.5 million. Madam Speaker, a modern, efficient, and people-centered public service is the foundation of good governance. We have made significant strides in reforming recruitment through comprehensive policy changes, process improvements, and the introduction of digital workflow systems. These efforts will ensure that the government of Montserrat attracts, hires, and retains the best talent to serve our people effectively. We recognize that our previous recruitment efforts were slow and at times, most times, very inefficient. To address this, we have undertaken a full-scale review and reform of our recruitment policies. We have introduced clear, standardized procedures that ensure a fair, transparent, and merit-based hiring system. Through these reforms, we have started to reduce delays in filling critical vacancies, making recruitment more responsive to the needs of government, ministries, and departments. Madam Speaker, our goal this financial year is to reduce the time from shortlisting to final selection of successful applicants from its current 60-plus days to not more than 28 days. This will help in terms of teacher recruitment, nurse recruitment, and the other key areas. We have also strengthened compliance with international standards and best practices, whilst ensuring that every step of the recruitment process is aligned with our broader public service goals. Additionally, Madam Speaker, we have introduced targeted recruitment strategies to attract professionals in key sectors such as healthcare, safeguarding, and other specialized areas. Piloting in the Ministry of Built, a broader rollout of the workflow module is planned across government agencies in the coming months. So we have started in Built, and later on we'll broaden it to the other government departments and ministries. Madam Speaker, this government recognizes that our people are our greatest asset. This is why we have expanded initiatives aimed at nurturing and developing our local talent. And this is to ensure that our people can occupy key positions within government. And we are in the process of strengthening our apprenticeship program, which I spoke to before, that builds on lessons learned from the HYPE program by giving school leavers an opportunity to develop their skills while fostering their own personal and professional development. Through our apprenticeship scheme, we'll focus on addressing the shortages in skills trades, developing a cadre of electricians, plumbers, welders, refrigeration specialists, among others, who can contribute to the efforts of taking Montserrat forward. We are thrilled to announce that during the piloting phase of this scheme, a cadre of apprenticeships will be assigned to the hospital project. Madam Speaker, this government is intent on investing in employee wellness and retention. Motivating and retaining our workforce is critical to ensuring a strong and productive public service. It is within this context that we will introduce a range of wellness initiatives to lift morale and the overall well-being of our employees. One of the most significant changes will be the introduction of flexible working arrangements and other hybrid work models. We will also introduce wellness programs that focus on both physical and mental health, recognizing that a healthy workforce is more engaged and a more effective one. This initiative will include a blend of employee recognition programs, recruitment of resources to support organizational psychology, access to confidential counseling, and career coaching and mentorship. Madam Speaker, I wish to address the issue of pension reform. After our public servants have committed themselves to years of dedicated service, we must seriously consider how we can meaningfully serve our pensioners. Ensuring a secure and sustainable retirement system for all is a priority of this government. Our current pension landscape has gaps that must be addressed to provide long-term financial security. This not only impacts public sector employees, but people in the private sector as well. While government employees benefit from a pension plan, most private sector workers do not have similar protections beyond the lump sum gratuity required by law after 10 years of service. For many, the Social Security pension is their only source of retirement income. To address these challenges, the government is considering a multi-pillar pension system that balances sustainable, fairness, and affordability. At the heart of this would be the creation of a pension plan benefiting both employees of Government of Montserrat and the private sector. This is expected to improve financial security among retirees, reduce our reliance on social welfare support, and ensure that our pension system is equitable for all. In the coming months, the government will engage with stakeholders to refine the details of the proposed system. The recurrent allocation for the office of the Deputy Governor, who will be in charge of taking these forward, is $44.7 million. Madam Speaker, with sustainable access in place, a responsible and vibrant tourism economy can flourish. The opportunity landscape for Montserrat tourism is significant, with potential growth of this sector a clear priority for the island's GDP. Over the last year, Montserrat has continued to garner the attention of international travel media and social media alike, including being named as one of New York Times' 52 places to go in 2025. That's a major achievement. Montserrat is well positioned to capitalize upon evolving global tourism trends in wellness tourism, experiential holidays, astrotourism, and sports tourism, among others. This year, Montserrat participated in the Antigua Yacht Show, a premier event on the maritime calendar, to foster connections with the yachting industry while highlighting Montserrat potential for charter experience and charter yachting experience in the Caribbean. Madam Speaker, this government will work with the Montserrat Tourism Authority to redouble its efforts to boost arrivals, return visitors, and tourist spending under a new comprehensive tourism strategy for 2025 to 2027. This will include new digital marketing initiatives to target key markets and demographics, broadening social media presence through influencer content, and bolstering relationship with the travel trade. And Honourable Osborne, over the St. Patrick's weekend, had a major blogger here, and the hits have been phenomenal. Brother Osborne, thanks. In addition to the administrative and marketing initiatives, focused areas of product development will surround the delivery of training in sites and attractions management. We will be reviewing proposals to reopen St. George's Hill and Plymouth as major tourism sites with improved signage, facilitating additional improvements to beaches and other attractions and cleanup campaigns. Madam Speaker, as part of our continued efforts to improve Montserrat tourism, our unique culture should be celebrated, preserved, and monetized. This is not only for current and future generations, but because festival tourism is a magnet for the visitor economy. We look forward to achieving continued success in this area with the notable return of anchor events during Christmas. Madam Speaker, in the year ahead, the Montserrat Arts Council will continue to invest in hallmark events, which would include a new international music festival and the return of the African music event. Opportunities will also be created for the youth to become more involved in cultural activities and will be encouraged to join new masquerade groups, calypso and poetry writing, along with training in the singing of calypso and other genres. Efforts are already in process for training other cultural initiatives, such as playing the various masquerade and string band instruments, and we will also have a national steel orchestra. And these are to showcase the wide range of talent on island. The Montserrat Arts Council will seek to foster the enhancement of regional collaborations and increase participation in regional cultural events, such as OECS-JC's Leeward Islands Calypso Competition, Carifesta, and the World Council of Domino Federation. Madam Speaker, this government will be revamping our cultural activities in all communities and schools, with the introduction of masquerade troupes in each school, calypso writing and performance, and the arts as integral for all youth. We are also encouraging the creation of community groups in each community across Montserrat with whom the government can work. The One Montserrat Project, Madam Speaker. The Montserrat Cultural Centre has been acquired by government, and as a consequence, we'll be making a substantial investment to rehabilitate and upgrade the building, making it more fit for purpose. The building will be doubling up as our House of Parliament and our House of Culture. We will be encouraging better utilization where our arts are showcased on a regular basis. As previously highlighted, we will seek to reduce the duty element on freight, and this should have some impact on the prices of all imported items. And I'd just like to give one example. Assuming LPG prices at $225 per 100-pound cylinder, with the freight component reduced by a potential 50%, the price will fall to as low as $175. That's a $50 saving per 100-pound cylinder. And you will see the impact on a broad range of other goods and services. You bring in a motor car, same thing will happen. You bring in a TV, same thing will happen in terms of reduction on freight. Major capital investments and project delivery. Alongside our recurrent revenue, this budget allocates $135.9 million for capital investment. This is also bolstered by existing FCDO capital investment, including major SIPREG program and UK SIF funding, CDB BNTF programs, Legacy EU, EDF project funding, RESMBID, grant funding, and Darwin funding, to name but a few. And I know my honourable colleague on the opposition will ask whether or not we have increased funding from CIPREG, and I'll let you know from now that we have an increase of £30 million, £30 million through a letter which I received last week. Capital project implementation will continue in the following areas: enabling the main construction works for the new National Hospital, completion of the Little Bay Port development, housing development and maintenance, priority sewage infrastructure improvements, and the consultants are currently on island doing the design works. I met them over lunch today. MSS remediation project completion, A1 road rehabilitation, prison facility upgrade, cultural center redevelopment program. Furthermore, to enhance food sovereignty and security initiatives, funding is being secured and has been secured from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank to the tune of $2.1 million. Alongside these externally funded initiatives, I'm delighted to announce that this government, through the 2025-26 budget, will transfer existing funding totaling $5 million that has sat untouched within the government coffers for the last few years. This transfer will better align with the current needs of ministries and departments while addressing neglected sectors and strengthen our overall economic environment. And this is how we're going to spend that $5 million. $1.08 million will be invested in micro-enterprise development scheme to support small businesses and entrepreneurs that are the lifeblood of our economy. This will be accessed through low-interest loans. $500,000 will be invested to upgrade the police station facilities at Cudger Head. Just under $500,000 will be invested to upgrade the multi-purpose sports center in Little Bay. Just under $1 million will be invested in additional housing construction and rehabilitation. That's over and above CIPREG housing and government housing. $500,000 approximately in educational facility upgrade and enhancement. Just under $500,000 to be invested in health facility upgrades and enhancement. Just under $500,000 to be invested in upgrade of Montserrat racetrack facilities, that's the motorsports. $250,000 to be invested in community development projects. And just under $250,000 will be invested in cultural development projects. And these cultural development projects are the masquerades and string bands and so forth that we're talking about. A program is being introduced whereby persons who have been resident in Montserrat for a period in excess of 3 years will no longer require immigration extension. However, persons who are here on contract will not have the time they're here on contract to be considered for the time spent for consideration for permanent residency. If you're here on contract, you're not a permanent resident. If you want to be considered for permanent residency, come off contract and join the others. This illustrates how important it is for Immigration Department to become more service-oriented and technology-driven than in the past. Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to say that the strategic direction created by the department itself and the commitment shown by the team gives me great confidence that they will achieve the desired results. Madam Speaker, for Montserrat to wean itself from budgetary aid, we must encourage both local and foreign direct investment. To this end, we have been having discussions with a range of potential investors, ranging from hotel, water bottling, data centers, to mining in its various forms. And in so doing, we will build an economy, create employment, and generate revenue for the government, thus making us less reliant on HMG in the not-too-distant future. Our major projects. The hospital main works has commenced with the mobilization of the contractor, and we have put systems in place to ensure proper management of the project. to ensure its scheduled completion by April 2027. We are putting in place medevac protocols and exploring various options to increase the efficacy of the process to the benefit of the patients. We are in negotiations with the contractor for the port project and are seeking a compromise solution to have the project restarted under a new management arrangement supported by HMG and the Government of Montserrat. We are implementing a utilities project to upgrade our water supply, springs, and new reservoir tanks, upgrading some of our pipelines which are leaking, replacing our sewage systems in Drummonds, Lookout, and Davyhill. We recognize that stable electricity is a must. There have been significant improvements in that respect, and we will be overhauling our main generator, obtaining proper and functional battery storage systems to ensure that we maximize the benefits of the installed PVC system. The airport tower will be completed, including the installation of an elevator and upgraded office space for the air traffic staff. The elevator has been procured, and additional funds have been allocated for the completion of that project. We have contracted a UK firm to explore the possibility of night landing at the John Osborne Airport, and this would enable us to have flights landing much later and reduce the need for overnight for connecting flights to Montserrat. This will also facilitate medevacs at night, and that again is critically important. You need to get out at night. You can't get a medevac, you have to wait till morning. That's the difference between life and death. Madam Speaker, I've just given a synopsis of how we will lead our united effort to make life better for all of us in Montserrat today and tomorrow. However, it is vital that we accept that even with the kind, critical, and substantial support provided by HMG, it is illogical to expect us to get the job done in one financial year. There will be some needs that we cannot meet in this financial year. I anticipate that there will be those among us who might decide to use their social media platforms to present their versions of what the budget should look like. But, Madam Speaker, anyone is free to express an opinion or pretend to be a Minister of Finance. However, I do not have that luxury of pretending. I have to be a real minister in a real world with actual time and resource constraints. But our team, the United Alliance team, remains accountable for those choices and results. There are consequences for actions. Some are only looking for followers and likes on their Facebook pages. Think about it. When last have you seen a government in Montserrat as capable and focused, as reliable, as approachable, as reachable, and as united as we have been since October 2024? There is an African proverb that says, no matter how long the night, the day is sure to come. Montserrat had a night that stretched many years, and we're working with you for that new day, the dawning of that new day. There is another African proverb that says, when you want to go far, you go together. We intend to continue this journey with all of us, the One Montserrat Project. Madam Speaker, in expressing our gratitude to all those who contributed to us being able to make a budget presentation of this quality in this time frame, I crave your indulgence to paraphrase a communication from HMG regarding financial support for fiscal 25-26 in a letter dated as recently as March 25th. The letter highlighted the strength of the evidence provided at the most recent budget support mission and the compelling case it made for Montserrat in the UK's own budget planning for Montserrat. It went on to confirm the £37 million in budget support that would be provided for Montserrat for this fiscal year. It further highlighted that this was a 17% increase on the provision from 2024, with increases in core budget support, security funding, and additional support in other key areas. Madam Speaker, at this juncture, I just wish to thank all of those hard-working public servants who made the effort over a very short period of time to assist us in getting these proposals ready within the very short time frame between elections and the time of the mission here to Montserrat. It emphasized that this increase was provided in a challenging global financial environment and with the increased pressure on the UK official development assistance budget. And the increase in this context reflects UK's continued commitment to Montserrat. It outlined the UK financial commitment to Montserrat through various channels with no less than £52 million for this fiscal year. That is both recurrent and capital. This suggests that the United Alliance administration has already won the respect and confidence of key officials in His Majesty's government. My brothers and sisters, if they can respect us and support us by increasing the level of financial support allocated to Montserrat, it is fair of me to ask our people to pull together and let us work on behalf of Montserrat without cynical, sinister, narcissistic, and hidden agendas. We are one Montserrat, and we must be working together. People of Montserrat, residents, our diaspora family, benefactors and well-wishers, yet another African proverb reminds us that we must prepare now for the solutions of tomorrow. And this budget shows that we are preparing. However, it goes further. The Chinese also have a saying, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. This budget also shows that we are preparing and performing today so that we can transform Montserrat tomorrow. In this regard, Madam Speaker, I crave your further indulgence. I invite us all to imagine what a transformed Montserrat will look like when we get there. There will be a new port, a new hospital, dependable tertiary health care, reliable electricity, reliable and affordable electricity, growing use of renewables as a source of energy, expanded number of government-supported and facilitating housing projects, greater private sector investment through entrepreneurship in new areas, more young people having opportunities to earn a living while remaining in Montserrat, a fit-for-purpose airport, greater production and consumption of locally wholesome produced food grown in Montserrat, a healthier and more physically fit population. Don't look at here, Madam Speaker. Well-surfaced major roads and also our secondary roads, refurbished office accommodation for the public sector, more than 100 more hotel rooms, first-class standard sporting facilities, a technology-driven public service that serves the public with efficiency and empathy, no work permits or immigration time limits after 3 years in Montserrat for Caribbean nationals, equal health care treatment for all Caribbean residents who have lived here over 3 years, and all children given equal treatment irrespective of their place of birth. Madam Speaker, The overall recurrent revenue for 2024-25 was budgeted at $155.8 million, with an outturn recurrent revenue at the end of the year standing at an estimated $165.6 million. This represents an increase of $6.5 million over government's collection on the previous year. Budget support from HMG remains the highest contributor to our revenues, with a provision of $100.17 million in 2024-25. Local revenue collection for 2024-25 stood at $61.39 million against a budget of $55.67, the majority of which came from increased collection in personal income tax, where $23.24 million was collected against a budget of $19.7 million. Approved expenditure for 2024-25 was $167.4 million, with actual expenditure standing at an estimated $163 million. In 2025-26 fiscal, Madam Speaker, I will now present the estimates of recurrent expenditure for fiscal year. As I would have previously highlighted, we have a total expenditure including debt servicing at $175.9 million. Budgetary allocation by economic classifications as follows: compensation of employees, $82.9 million or 47% of the budget. Goods and services, $62.6 million or 35.6% of the budget. Interest payment, $0.2 million or 0.1% of the budget. Subsidies, $17.5 million or 10% of the budget. Grants, $5.36 million or 3.1 million or 3.1%. Social benefits, $3.3 million or 1.9%. Other expenses, $4.1 million or 2.3%. Madam Speaker, the revenue estimate for 2025-26 stands at $175.9 million. This represents a 13% increase over the 2024 approved estimates of $155.9 million. The projected increase is based on a combination of improvements in revenue collection and an increase in the overall aid package. The estimated revenue from local sources is $55.6 million compared to $55.8 million in 2024-25. Total local revenue will be generated from two main areas: tax revenue and non-tax revenue. Budget support from FCDO will contribute £37 million or $120.2 million or 68% of the recurrent budget. Details of this was previously outlined, Madam Speaker. The aid was converted using a rate of 3.25 to the pound. Coincidentally, Madam Speaker, if my Uncle Donald continues at the rate he's going, the US dollar will fall, the pound will rise against the US dollar, and therefore our budget sums will naturally increase. Capital expenditure is estimated to be $135.9 million. The classification as follows: economic infrastructure development of $66.5 million or 49%, social infrastructure and development of $60.8 million or 44.8%, public administration $1.9 million or 1.4%, agriculture $2.8 million or 2.04%, statistical research, miscellaneous projects and other programs $3.8 million or 2.8% of the allocation. The funding support for this budget is derived from 5 major sources, with the FCDO, Caribbean Development Bank, the European Union as the 3 top supporters. This is broken down as follows. The UK government, FCDO, with 89.5 million or 65% of the budget. CDB, 25.9 million or 19.1% of the budget. EU, 16.9 million or 12.4%. ECCB, 2.1 million or 1.6%. And other sources to include our local budget and other funding partners such as Darwin, OTEP, JNC, etc., with 1.5 million or 1.1%. Madam Speaker, I reiterate, a total budget estimate of 311.8 million is presented before this Honourable House for 2025-26 for consideration and further approval. The recurrent budget reflects a number of policies and programs aimed at moving government towards fiscal sustainability. The recurrent budget is used to facilitate salaries, wages, and operational expenses of the ministries and departments across government. Madam Speaker, this 25-26 budget estimate is allocated across ministries and departments as follows. Office of the Deputy Governor, 44.7 million, a recurrent of 38.5 million or 21.9%, and capital of 6.3 million or 4.6%. Ministry of Finance and Economic Management, 82.5 million, recurrent 47.1 million or 26.8%, and capital 35.4 or 26.1%. The Ministry of Health and Social Services, 76.6 million, 25.5 as recurrent, which is 14.5%, and capital 51.1 million or 37.6%. Office of the Premier, 12.2 million, made up of a recurrent of 11.4 million, which is 6.5% of the recurrent, and a capital of 0.8 million or 0.6%. The Ministry of Built, 49.5 million, of which recurrent is 14.1 million or 8%, and capital of 35.4 million or 26.1%. Ministry of Education, 11 million, recurrent of 10.1 million or 5.7%, and capital of 1 million or 0.6% of the budget. Ministry of Agriculture, Lands, Housing and the Environment, 13.27 million, a recurrent of 8.9 million, which is 5.04% of the budget, and a capital of 4.4 million or 26.1%. The RMPS, a total recurrent allocation of 8.5 million, the balance of 13.5 million or 4.3% of the budget is allocated among the other services of government, which include legislative and judicial services, the Office of the Auditor General, Cabinet Secretariat, and the Department of Communications and Digital Transformation. Madam Speaker, the full set of allocations is detailed in the estimates of revenue and expenditure tabled in this Honourable House today, and will be available for circulation once it has been approved. Wider circulation. The budget is the first segment of the transformation roadmap. Our Sustainable Development Plan will provide a far more comprehensive strategic pathway. It takes time to create an SDP. I should know. And I do know, because I led many of those teams that created the SDBs for Montserrat over the last 30 years. In creating the new SDP, we will be thorough and consultative, but we will also be timely and using local resources. I affirm that this is what this budget shows that the United Alliance-led government will do: hold ourselves accountable to all of our people, give our people hope again, with confidence that there is a future for Montserrat as a viable society. Lead the effort to make the lives of our people better, economically, socially, psychologically, and culturally. Begin again to create the competencies needed for sustainable development of our society among our people by investing in our people of all ages. Ensure that overseas experts have understudies and counterparts as far as is practicable. Make and keep political office an office of service to the people, where we make ourselves available to the people of this country. Consult, converse, and engage people from all walks of life, and act on good ideas irrespective of where they originate. Demonstrate that Montserrat's constitutional status does not equate to us being a people with a mendicant mentality. Madam Speaker, although we are willing to go that extra mile, nothing would be worth doing without our people of Montserrat and the hard work they put in daily, just to see our island thrive, and for this I say thank you. Thank you to the staff within the Ministry of Finance for their dedication to seeing this budget process through annually. Very commendable. I don't know how I can say thank you to them for the long hours which they have put in, always with a smile, even when they're working as late as midnight. Thank you. And we will work ourselves out as to how we'll say thank you better. Every system has a core, and that is just what the office of the Deputy Governor is to the public service. Our thanks to the Deputy Governor, to her and her team for ensuring that we have the required human capacity to deliver. To the devoted staff within the office of the Premier, I extend a heartfelt thank you, for without you, I would not be in a position to stand before this Legislative Assembly today, as you are the driving force behind most of my actions. Thank you to the various ministries and departments for their unwavering support throughout the 6 months that we've been in office, and for making this process worthwhile. Thank you to FCDO and the Governor's Office for the continued relationship with this your government and the people of Montserrat. To my colleagues who sit here with me in this honorable house, both on this side and on that side, and the rest of the United Alliance team, thank you for your perseverance as we work together to provide a sustainable future for this island. This was a remarkable 6 months, and as we move into an even greater year as your premier and leader of your government, I will walk with faith knowing that we have a strong team of supporters, locally, regionally, and globally. In closing, Madam Speaker, let me say that I hope in 2025-26 budget, we will mark a new path for Montserrat, an era in which the skills and competencies of politicians of all persuasions work for the best interests of Montserrat and leave it to the people at election time to decide which grouping should keep or take the reins of government. It is time we come out of the perpetual campaign mode that we seem to have slipped in, especially in the social media age. Let this be the era of mature, insightful debate, given by sincerity and commitment to Montserrat. We should not have to tear down each other's name, reputation, and family history to shreds to prove that we love Montserrat. I invite all politicians and aspiring politicians to accept that you can be successful by operating on principle and not just on negativity and innuendo. Think of what is best for Montserrat and who is best for Montserrat, not how many followers you have on Facebook or how many likes you get for what you put on the internet. The development of Montserrat is a challenging task. In the wake of nearly 30 years of ongoing volcanic activity, the impact and legacy of the eruptive events are wide-ranging, far-reaching, and consequential. Madam Speaker, it is difficult but genuinely believe it must be done for the generations that will follow us. We simply cannot write off this emerald jewel. In the words of our territorial song, we all need to rise up and make our country great with art and skill and sacrifice. One Montserrat. May the God whom we serve continue to bless and preserve us. May the peace of God be with us all. Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister of Finance. I was following so intently I didn't get a chance to see where you say not to look. that doesn't require a response. Do we have a seconder for the motion for the second reading? I recognize the Honourable Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, I stand to support the second reading of the Appropriation Bill number 25, number 3 of 2025.
Members, it has been moved. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. The adjournment. Yeah.
Madam Speaker, I move for adjournment of this Honourable House, and in consultation yesterday with the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, we have agreed reluctantly that we will resume our sitting on Thursday morning at 9 o'clock for us to continue with the debate. So I move a motion for the adjournment of this Honourable House until Thursday morning at 9 o'clock.
What's the date? 10th?
Whatever Thursday is. Remember, I say reluctantly.
I recognize the Honourable Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, I stand to support the motion for the adjournment to Thursday, 10th April, 9 a.m.
Members, it has been moved and seconded that this Honourable House be adjourned until Thursday, 10th April at 9 a.m. All those in favour say aye. Those against, nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. This Honourable House now stands adjourned until Thursday, 10th April at 9 a.m.